Welcome to the podcast On the Wire with today's host, Daniela Ogden.
Today we are discussing a relatively young program in California called Enhanced Care Management, otherwise known as ECM. ECM is a holistic approach to wellness for managed care Medi-Cal recipients. Through community-based organizations like Fred Finch, participants can have access to resources that help them live better. That help can look like help with scheduling doctor's appointments, visits with social workers, and so much more. So let's get into introductions.
Hi, my name is Cristóbal Hernandez, and I'm the Senior Director for Enhanced Care Management for Fred Finch.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Siles, and I am the ECM Care Supervisor for Northern California.
Hello, my name is Latrice Casey, and I am a client and also a community member for Fred Finch Enhanced Care Management Services.
Hi, my name is Samika, and I am the Enhanced Care Management Case Manager.
Great. So starting with Cristobal, can you give us an overview of what ECM services are like?
Yes, definitely. ECM Services Enhanced Care Management was launched through CalAIM, which is a long acronym, which is basically the restructuring of Medi-Cal. One of the services that came was a catalyst through CalAIM was Enhanced Care Management. Enhanced Care Management is a service that a lot of people don't know about, kind of underscoring the point that it is a new service. It was, first launched in January of 22 with different populations of focus that rolled out to receive services. The specific population that we work with is children, youth, and their caregivers. So the way I like to describe it is we're concierge of services that the family might need. So based on our assessments, we look to connect the families to resources in the community that they might not be aware about and they might need. So in terms of services that we look to connect to, I always say it's from A to Z, and it's very tailored and specific to that particular family. We've referred families to that maybe were denied for CalFresh because maybe they didn't complete the application properly. We meet with clients in the community, in their homes, here, basically wherever the family has a need for our services.
Well, that sounds really helpful. When did Fred Finch start ECM, and how does it contribute to our continuum of care?
We launched our program in July of 2023, and it's a great addition to the continuum of care because it doesn't supplement services that the clients or beneficiaries might already be receiving. It looks to augment the gaps in the services. So just to basically utilize simple math, so hypothetically a family has 7 particular needs and they might already be receiving 3. What we would do is we would conduct an assessment, and through that assessment we would recognize that 3 of these needs are already filled and being provided by certain providers, but there's a need for these other 4. So we're definitely not here to duplicate, we're here to augment. So again, it just depends on what the family needs and is receiving at that particular time.
Great. How many people is Fred Finch serving, and where are we offering those services?
Great question. We're serving approximately at this particular time around 280 clients, and this would be in Northern California, Alameda County, Santa Clara County, and then in the San Diego and Southern California area in San Diego County. Hopefully, in the short run, we're looking to expand it to Contra Costa County and other counties as well as the opportunities arise and the managed care plans roll out their ECM programs in those particular areas.
Wow, that's quite a breadth of reach that you have for those services. I'm curious, how does one become eligible?
Enhanced care management is a little different. They have to have a Medi-Cal that's tethered to a specific managed care plan. And this is something that's fairly new, and a lot of the beneficiaries who have Medi-Cal are unaware about. Some of them are, so they have to have a managed care plan that's tethered to the Medi-Cal. So for example, in Northern California, and it would be Alameda Alliance, Santa Clara Family Health Plan, as well as Kaiser, tethered to their Medi-Cal benefits. And if we hopefully grow into Contra Costa into that particular county, it would be Contra Costa health plan.
Great. And how long can people receive services for?
Typically, when clients are open for services, it's for a 1-year span, post the assessment, and we find out what needs that the client might benefit from. However, we do conduct another assessment at the 6-month mark, just to make sure that if there's any additional needs, etc., we can look to add those, or maybe we've reached some goals and remove those from what we're currently working on.
Great. Thank you for that. Moving over to you, Stephanie, I have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind. Can you characterize some of the challenges that ECM participants are facing?
Yeah, I think one of the most prominent challenges that participants are currently facing is definitely for housing. A lot of our families are in need of housing support services, and so we're able to connect them to neighboring agencies that are able to provide that support. In addition to that, we've also noticed many gaps in their CalFresh or IHSS documentation, and so we are able to assist them with applying for IHSS or reevaluating their IHSS current situation and also reapply for CalFresh if needed.
Similar question. What are some common themes that you encounter?
Yeah, one of the most common themes that we currently encounter is, again, going back to housing. A lot of our families are in need of housing support, and we are able to connect them to neighboring agencies that can assist them with that support. In addition to that, we have noticed a lot of food insecurity, and so our participants are able to work with the case manager and be connected to local food banks or other food resources like CalFresh, and eventually be able to know where their closest food banks are.
So Stephanie, how does care coordination make a difference in participants' lives?
Yeah, so participants are able to have a direct access Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. With their case manager. And that direct line, we've noticed, has really impacted the types of services that they're currently receiving, especially because we've noted that at certain times, a lot of the gaps come from lack of communication, from care coordination. And so being able to fill those gaps has really impacted our families.
Well, that's great. Thank you for that. So Samika, you are the lead care manager for Latrice over here. I'm wondering, can you talk through how you work with families?
Yes, absolutely. So I typically begin working with families through the program protocol. So what we're required to do is conduct a risk assessment of participants' needs. And that risk assessment helps us to delve into what their exact needs are, whether those are housing needs, financial needs, what their therapeutic or mental health or psychosocial needs are, in addition to their physical health needs. So through that assessment, we can really capture what the participants or their parents require. For example, it'll go over what their primary care provider is, if they have one, if they have a primary dentist that they go to for their regular checkups, if the client has any kind of mental health diagnoses, or mental health concerns such as autism or ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar. And then we also ask if the client is linked or the participant is linked to any kind of provider for those necessary services. And if not, then we're able to, as case managers or care managers, assist them with that. So after I conduct the assessments, we are required to conduct, or we're required to complete an individual care plan. And the individual care plan helps us to emphasize what those needs are for the client in terms of their behavioral health or mental health, in addition to their medical needs. And we also go over the strengths of each of the participants in addition to the strengths that their families have. So for example, sometimes clients will say that they don't have access to transportation to get to their primary care appointments. So then a need for them would be being able to connect them to public transportation that would be discounted. One of the strengths in that case would be they may not have any kind of serious medical concerns. They just require transportation to get to their regular health checkups. So the individual care plan, the risk assessment, are the primary tools that we use to work with our clients, just so we can better understand them and their families. And then from there, I go ahead and I conduct follow-ups with them, either directly through the phone, in person, or through text. So that would just include what resources do they specifically need. So a lot of the times I work with families that require rental assistance or financial assistance to help pay for their rent or security deposits if they're able to secure new housing. So then what that would look like for me is going on the internet and spending between 1 to 3 hours searching for resources within their county or neighboring counties where they can get assistance from. There are plenty of churches that are able to provide that assistance. There are also, as Stephanie mentioned, neighboring housing assistance agencies such as Bay Area Community Services, or there are also low-income housing websites that are able to provide listings for subsidized housing or income-based housing such as mid-pen housing, or even I would say the EHA housing website. So I usually, after the risk assessments and the care plans, I like to research what resources the clients need, and then I go ahead and inform them of those resources through their preferred method. So sometimes if it's an easy need that they require, like changing their primary care provider, that is something that I can work with the family on through the phone. So I can conduct a 3-way call with their health insurance provider and them. So a 3-way call between the case manager, the health insurance plan, and the client or the client's parent. And then from there, the health insurance provider can help make the change. Same thing with dental, if they're in need of help, if they require finding a new dentist or scheduling an appointment, it would just be making a simple phone call to the clinic. If a client requires more assistance with in-person services, such as going to the IHSS office to complete an application, then I would work with the family by meeting them at the IHSS office and then guiding them through the application process, because when you go to a public office, they have a lot of people there that they're working with, so having a case manager would be valuable to help them guide through the application process instead of them having to wait in line to get a hold of an eligibility worker over there. So it really just depends on the acuity of the cases that we work with and the families. If they do require us to meet them in person, then I would go ahead and meet them exactly where they need me to meet them, where they're comfortable. If they don't have access to transportation, that would mean going to their home, or again, a lot of activities that they require can be done at the social services office, where they can apply for government assistance such as supplemental security income or cash aid or food stamps. So I would meet them there to guide them through the application process.
That's great. Seems like you do a lot. I'm curious, how did you get into this work?
Well, I actually have a public health background. I studied public health when I was in college, and a lot of what I took away from my education were the health disparities and the health inequities that specifically Latinx communities face and Black communities face. So I learned a lot about how in low-income areas, such as where we work right now, a lot of people they have that inequitable access to care that could be due to racism, due to discrimination, due to social determinants of health, like their socioeconomic status. A lot of them have transportation barriers, so they can't get to the care that they need. They may also be disabled. A lot of them might have language barriers. They come from different cultures, and they're not able to communicate in the language that most people here are. So I learned a lot about how prevalent the gaps in care were between Latinx communities and Black communities versus their white counterparts. So I decided to kind of get into case management or community health worker roles to kind of bridge those gaps in access to care. And I think ECM has done a very good job of that, because we are literally able to help the client get to the resources that they need. And a lot of the times the communities that we work with, they're specifically communities of color, like I keep emphasizing, and they have a lot of limited health knowledge. They may not have a lot of health literacy about what they have access to, and it could be just because of their educational background. They might not have had access to education in order to be informed about basic things in regards to their health. So that is also another reason why I got into this type of work.
That's great. So Latrice, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you tell me a little bit about your family?
Sure. Samika, again, is my caseworker for my son. I have a 6-year-old who has a chronic medical condition called Hirschsprung's disease. Also, he has autism, and we've been working with Samika in enhanced care management for the past year through Kaiser, through Medi-Cal, and through Alameda Alliance.
Great. And so what are some of the challenges that brought you to the program, and when did you begin to receive services?
Absolutely. Well, the biggest challenge was I didn't realize with my son's chronic medical condition that it would leave me with an inability to work. So as his medical condition started to be enhanced, and we didn't realize it last year, he started going in and out of having hospital stays. So he would have hospital stays simultaneously about every 3 months. And in that time, I also started having mental trauma from being a single mother of color, from being high functioning in her career field, and having to settle with losing all income because of this health disparity, not feeling like I had any support system, not feeling like I had enough resources, even though I have a lot of resources because I'm also in the same field, and just feeling emotionally and mentally devastated. I started to have mental health trauma and crisis around the time that Samika was getting in touch with me. So I actually started to rebel in a sense against her because I felt like there was a lot of systems that were already in place. They did kind of subpar support our work. How can this person help me when I'm facing so many barriers? What Samika did, and what I always tell her and the case managers like her, is that she pushed. So she didn't push only to identify the issues that I had, she pushed to increase my quality of belief in myself, to enhance my meritocracy and my ability to rise up mentally from trauma. She said, I am not, because I said, I don't think y'all can help me, just leave me alone, in so many words. She came back and said, yes, we can, and I would like to see you personally to let you know that everything will be okay, that everyone goes through this, and I'm here to support you directly and indirectly. Where I am now is not who I was then, and a big reason is because Samika and the other case managers at Enhanced Care Management helped me inside a strong warrior woman in this impoverished circumstances that also helps people to get back up and help me and my family to rise above the ashes.
Wow, lovely, lovely sentiment that you just shared. Can you talk a little bit more about how Samika supported you?
Sure, absolutely. Not only did she support me with a lot of moral support to get me to give recommendations to have me go to therapy, to discover my options as a mother and caregiver of a child with chronic illnesses that need additional support. She also helped with starting us with IHSS services, or even enlightening me to that, because I had been a hardworking woman that didn't know about these services, even though I had given them to clients as well, participants, excuse me. So she helped me discover a myriad of opportunities and options and resources. Like I said, I was on the verge of homelessness as well. I didn't have a job as well. I lost my car, I lost my mind. She redirected me to all these resources that would help me supplement the ones that I already knew that were new, forthcoming, and that she can find to support me. She also brought me food, because like we said, food insecurity is very prevalent. And just like housing is a human right, so is food security. Even somebody like me that doesn't look like it on the outside, I had food insecurity too. I would call Samika and cry because of shame that I felt within myself and needing food. She would make me feel better and go and get that food, as you said, going above and beyond to even come all the way to where I live, which is in a totally different county. She have done physical things, and she's also done a lot of moral support that money can't buy, that even being in career professionalism can't buy, is within the people to know and to uplift the people that will uplift others.
How is your life different now that ECM is in your life?
Like I just said, and I'll keep repeating, I almost lost my house, I almost lost my mind, and I almost felt like I lost my quality to be a good mom and care for my kids, but for being overwhelmed and lack of support. Samika and Enhanced Care Management has brought that back into me. Everybody falls, everybody struggles, everybody suffers. This is something Samika had to drill into me, because when I went through the trauma of anxiety and depression from my situation and not being able to unpack or cope with it, then I went into 2 months of mental shame of the way that I let myself and my kids get into the situation. Samika was right there not only to offer physical and valuable resources such as food, such as cards for public transportation when she can get it, but a lot of moral support, a lot of I'm just going to check and balance and accountability you so that you can have the steps to get back to where you are, so that you can in turn help community, and we can all do it, because that is the circle of community service.
That's great. Wonderful. Is there anything else that anyone would like to share about enhanced care management while we're here today?
If I can please share, what I was telling Samika is that there are a lot of participants such as myself that this program and the social workers and everybody impacts. It really, really needs to be captured more. It needs to be data-centered, captured, and continued so that we can provide real statistical information to then go and provide policy or create policy and legislation, and not only expand enhanced care management on a macro level, but also try to bring some laws and some statutes into our communities to make sure that all of our families that have these historical dispositions and challenges that they go through can benefit from programs like this. And also, the real workers and people on the grassroots ground can be heard, as well as the clients actually being heard, because we know that in social services or in human services, there's a lot of statistical data and historical data that goes into having implement deliverables of these programs, but there needs to be real world data so that we can have real world solutions to real world issues and get them all the way through legislation so they can change the community as a whole, as they are changing people like me, people with less knowledge than me, people with more trauma than me, or people with less trauma than me. So let's keep this momentum going, and let's get the information out there so that it can make real change and there can be real awareness of the Enhanced Care Management Program.
Just to piggyback on what was just said, I totally agree. For various components, in regards to ECM, one of the biggest hurdles the ECM is experiencing is it's a wonderful service. It's free to the participants, but because it's so new, a lot of people do not know about it. We receive referrals from the managed care plans, and a lot of times the beneficiaries are unaware. It's almost like a cold call. And like most people, when they receive a cold call, they might be a little standoffish, which is totally understandable. I believe that, conveying the information, getting it out there, as was just mentioned, is crucial because it can help so many families with various needs in their lives. So one of the things that we're looking is to obviously share our program, share ECM, discuss it, and to allow people to understand it and be more likely to want to enroll if it's something that could benefit them. So I think that, partnering up with other agencies, accepting referrals from other agencies, and just getting the word out there is really imperative for the program to grow and help families with the various needs, because that's one of the things that we're experiencing. It's not just our ECM program. I think across the state, it's because it's so new. When people are offered the program, they might think we're they're not really sure what we're offering. So I think marketing the program, informing people of how it can help them is really imperative. And I think it'll take time. It's like I said, it's a new sector. And I'm hoping, as time progresses, that ECM will be an acronym that everybody knows. Maybe hopefully in a year or 2 years, it's very familiar to people. But right now, one of the barriers, again, reiterating, underscoring, is that a lot of people don't know what it is, and they're not likely to want to enroll at this particular time.
Great. Well, as we've heard today, ECM is really a beacon of hope and light for many families in California. We also want to make sure that you know how you can get in touch in case you're interested in referring yourself or referring someone else. You may reach out to ECM inquiries at fredfinch.org to be connected with someone who can help you. Again, that's ECM inquiries at fredfinch.org. Well, thank you all so much for your time today. It's been lovely chatting with everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been On the Wire, a Fred Finch Youth and Family Services production with today's host, Daniela Ogden. For more information, visit fredfinch.org.